Hi guys. Okay, I tried YouTube. Utter fail. Super, super major utter fail. So, we're gonna switch it up last minute and use IG because, hi guys. Because the tube of you is not working for me for whatever reason. Doesn't like my computer, there's no browser, whatever. Technical difficulties. So, hopefully some of you guys get the memo. Hi guys, about where I am now. Boo. Anyway, we'll continue on as planned. Hi Mike, hi guys. So I wanted to just do a little more formal introduction, as it were, in regards to kind of who I am and how my gifts came online, that kind of thing. I don't talk about myself in long form that often. I like to talk mostly about my work, obviously, and it's super vulnerable to share all kinds of things about me, but here we go. I wanted, to be real and be authentic, in case you guys are also navigating some things. Hi. We had to jump over here off of YouTube because YouTube was glitching for me. So glad you found me. Glad you found me, Ramina. Okay, so backstory. I always had gifts. I always had some understanding of the fact that I could see, hear, feel, sense, know things. But I assumed that other people did too. I'm not really sure when the moment came that I realized that maybe other people weren't as tuned in as I was. I was definitely like the little kid that used to wake up with things, shadow people sitting at the end of my bed, seeing spirits, that kind of thing. I was such a strange kid. I used to lay awake at night and try to see what forever felt like until I was like so exhausted I would fall asleep. But because I was like seeing things a lot as a kid, I was really, really afraid of it. And I grew up in Kentucky, and my mom was pretty religious, and she used to just say, oh, if like it bothers you or it's super scary, then just tell it to go away. And that was all that I was kind of like dealt with as far as that goes. So I chose to not interact with it as much as humanly possible. But it never really went away. I would say that, man, some of like the scariest moments for me, I like ended up in places that I thought they were just like haunted, right? And maybe they are, right? There's more stuff energetically going on, but I was haunted, okay? I was the one that could feel and see and sense. So I like to say it's like you're the light on in the dark room, and everything else is like the moth to the flame. I had some like pretty big predictive aha moments for me. I remember I think it was like there was a tsunami in 2003 or 2004, the one in Indonesia. I remember I had a pretty big dream that something like that would happen, and then it happened. I I had a dream one time very specifically about this boyfriend, and he was like, I was like, oh my gosh, you were cheating on me. You were sleeping with this girl in our bed, and she looked like this. And I described her to a T, and he was like, you're crazy. I'm not cheating on you. And I was like, yeah, I don't think you are. It was just so weird. We ended up breaking up, and probably 6 months after we broke up, that was the girl he started dating. There was tons of stuff that was like that continued to happen for me. But I chose not to talk about it because people think you're crazy, right? I was always very, very sensitive. I kind of knew. I could feel other people's energy, and just, I was the girl that, like, if anybody was like, hey, what do you think's going to happen with X, Y, and Z? Or let's ask Amber. They came to me, but I was like super low key about it. Obviously, because people think you're crazy. I would say so that's just kind of like the thing, right? Did I always have gifts? Yes. But did I enter into this lifetime with channeling ability? No. That came on way, way, way later. That was like, I was doing a ton of other things. So I lived and worked in LA for 20 something years. I worked as a professional dancer and aerialist mostly, and did what I like to refer to as the LA hustle. So you work a million other jobs just to survive on top of whatever we're already doing. For me, that happened to be working as a spicy midnight ballerina. And I did that mostly in my early 20s instead of waiting tables, because it gave me the freedom to pursue my very strict training schedule to be an aerialist and a professional dancer and still pay my bills and kind of take the time off to like go on tours and those kinds of things. But because I was in that environment, right, all the things that are kind of coming to light right now about celebrities and the list and those types of things, I was working with other people that would end up at parties with those kinds of people. I would see celebrities firsthand kind of not acting on their best behavior. I was hired to perform one time at a party with politicians. I mean, I'm telling you guys, like, all that stuff goes on, right? It all goes on. It's very, very, very real. So, you're what?
I'm gonna run by the school. I think we might go to Tony's. I'll bring you home tortilla soup.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. I love you. I'm moving your car right now.
Okay, bye.
Okay.
Thanks. Moving cars, those kinds of things. Where was I? Hi, guys. I lost my train of thought. I hate when they get hurt. What was I talking about? Oh, the list. Okay. So, because I was in those types of environments, I saw a lot of that stuff, right? I saw people not acting in their best. Hi guys, hi Robin. We had to pop over here instead of YouTube because YouTube was glitching for me. I was at weird political parties. Yes. I was working in New Orleans after Katrina. One of the spicy clubs flew me in because they needed dancers. And the girls were making insane amounts of money. Like, I think I made $20,000 in 2 weeks. And nobody was really around except for construction workers and politicians. And I can tell you, these politicians were spending FEMA money on spicy dancers. I can tell you it's both sides of the aisle. I can tell you nobody cares when they're put in positions of power. Like they just kind of, and I was working with other women who had lost everything, right, during that flood, their homes, everything. And they weren't getting any assistance. But these politicians were spending that money like it's no problem on entertainment, right? I performed at a very lavish party in San Francisco with a small circus troupe. I was hired to do burlesque and a little bit of aerial and be ambiance, right? Create an ambiance vibe. How do I say? This person now runs space things. The party was a little weird. I had to sign an NDA, so I'm not going to tell you too terribly much. I will say this person was very polite, very engaging to speak with, but some of the people that were there at that party were weird. It was giving eyes wide shut. And because I, again, had done both, right, worked as a spicy dancer and again as a professional dancer and performer, I think I happened to notice things that maybe some of the other people that I was with weren't noticing. But yeah, it was definitely weird. So I've fully been immersed in some of these places and situations as a spicy dancer and as a high-level performer working in entertainment in Hollywood. I can absolutely tell you there are really, really weird things going on. Yeah, I know. Which brings me to one of the ways that I learned to utilize my energy, right, early on, which I don't think I really understood that I was doing this, was being able to read places and situations, right, be able to pick up the vibe on other people and check in with myself on whether or not I needed to be there, right, to like really keep myself safe. This is a great way to utilize your intuition. Lots of us have that like sixth sense, gut check, safety vibe thing. And that happened to be one of mine that I utilized. And when I listened to it, it didn't steer me wrong. There were times that I maybe put myself in positions for the sake of going against my own trust and thinking like, oh, this is going to be a really good job for me, or I need the money, and ended up in a situation that was not good for me. So it's always like one of those things when I look back at like the trajectory of my life, I'm really glad I learned those lessons and got to experience some of that weird stuff, because it taught me what it's like to be disconnected from my intuition versus what it's like to utilize it. And I can absolutely tell you that when I utilized it, my life was better. So, what happened during COVID? I had been working professionally as a dancer, full-time, in entertainment, right? Performing probably 4 or 5 nights a week, taking on bookings and jobs, modeling, doing a little bit of wardrobe and costume making here and there. And then the world kind of shut down. And LA was like really, really strict and very, very aggressive about the shutdown. But being the type of person that I am, I was like, no worries. Everybody's getting money. I'll get some of that COVID money too. I did not get any of that COVID money as a freelancer. They did not want to give it up. So that was fine. I grew up, I'm a scrappy girl. I worked all kinds of weird side jobs and was like, I'm just going to figure this out. It'll be fine. What else is new? What was really magical is during that time, because everything was shut down, I was removed from hustle mode. I used to be the girl that worked 7 days a week. Sometimes I had double bookings. And it gave me this space to really reconnect with myself in ways that I hadn't. So my baseline clairvoyance skills started to expand and get like really, really intense, which made living in LA feel like everything had been turned up to 11. Like I was so energetically sensitive, I was having a hard time being there. I was just like sensing everything. It was cool, but it also was like a little off-putting, right? So weird. Okay, so some weird things that happened during that time. I happened to meet my very close friend Dawn, and she hired me to go work Sturgis, doing production for a pop-up brand. And this friend of mine, she's like a UFO person too. And one of the nights we're driving back to the house out in the sticks, and this football-sized triangular UFO. I think she and I were even talking about like quantum physics, because like we're those people. There's like this narrow road, there's nothing around, and we just see this like giant triangular UFO shape just enter into our field of view in the front of the car. She hits the brakes and we're both like, oh my God. It stops and we're both like, oh my God, do you see this? I can't believe I'm seeing this, right? If I was alone, probably never would have believed it. I tried to pull out my phone very quickly to film, and the thing shot off in a diagonal other direction and took off. It was so wild and like super cool. So that was a pretty profound experience for me up until that point, because I had always believed in things and sensed things, but like when you get to see it firsthand, there's really like, you can't deny it anymore, right? I'm trying to think of like what else kind of happened during that time. There was just like a couple weird things that happened like that during that time. I would say that one was the craziest. Hi guys, hi Sam. So yeah. Oh, okay, so also during that time, I took a group QHHT session, which is Dolores Cannon's method of past life regression. It's the same method that I'm certified in. And at this time, I was like, I'm not a good meditator. I'm still not a good meditator. I fall asleep or I get bored every time. But this process moves you into this brainwave state where you're not really asleep and you're not in meditation, so you can access these higher dimensional states of consciousness, right? So I took a group QHHT session from a practitioner, Jerome DeWitt. He works super close with Dolores's family. I think he was certified by Dolores in person. I was like, this is some BS. I'm not gonna be like, I doubt this is gonna happen, whatever. For like a split second, halfway through the group regression, I slipped into a past life moment, and it was so visceral. I was in like Mesopotamia area. I wasn't wealthy. I think I did laundry essentially for a living. And I went down to the river to wash some clothes. And when I was guided to experience the last moment for me in that lifetime, I was full, like, you know, by a group of men with like sticks and stones. And it was, again, it was so visceral. It brought me out, like I brought myself out screaming and crying. Because I was like, what is going on? It was so intense. And I, like, after that, I was like a full believer. I was like, whoa. So like between that thing happening, just like energetically, LA was starting to feel a little crazy for me. My premonitions were picking up, and then the UFO contact thing, I would like, that whole period of time, I just was like, I don't know what's going on, but I don't know if I can stay in LA anymore. And I had been feeling really like I needed to leave LA. So I decided to start I decided to start a surf clothing brand. I didn't really know what was going to come of it. I just was doing it for fun because I had nothing else to do during COVID, and I sew, but I wasn't doing live performance. So that brought me out of LA, and I moved down to San Diego to kind of fully immerse myself in that. And it had like a really solid 2-year run. I was wholesaling to free people, and business was really, really good. I was starting to pick up some other like major retailers. I had gotten an investor, and I was going to get to grow the brand and expand the brand and like move into swimwear. And I was super, super psyched. I was getting ready to do all the things that I wanted to do with it. And then like the day that I'm supposed to go into production for new things, the investment company I had been working for, the main guy, like disappeared. And I guess he had stopped paying his employees, like all this stuff. It was so crazy. And I was devastated. I was like major, major, major devastated. I like didn't know what to do. I felt like my whole life had like collapsed again. Right. First it was like during COVID where I was like, oh, I'm performing full time. Oh, now there's no more live entertainment. There's no work. Okay, I'm going to do this other thing. Oh, this other thing's going really well. Now it's collapsing. It was like double collapse. And I was, 2 years from 40, I felt like I was just like, what the fuck am I going to do? And I was like really depressed for like 3 months, like probably the darkest I've ever been. And I don't really get depressed. I get moody, but, yeah, I had like a day where I just was like, I'm miserable. I moved out of LA. I don't have any friends. I gave up. Like I wanted to move out of LA, but I felt like I gave up so much like of another part of my life, and the next part of my life wasn't solidified and like wasn't really growing the way I had hoped. And I was having like a really hard time in my relationship. I was feeling very isolated, right? And I was like so bummed. Like I just felt like everything had been so hard for so long, and I didn't know what I was going to do anymore. So much of my income had always been tied to me hustling, my looks, right? That kind of thing. And I was like tired. I was like, I'm going to be 40 soon. I can't go back to performing full time. My body hurts. I was like, I don't want to like keep utilizing my looks for money. Like that's just not filling my soul up either. And I was like done. I was so done. I had such a crazy tower collapse moment. The day that like all this stuff happened, I was like, I'm just gonna go walk out in front of the train, which you can do down here in San Diego. There's a cliff. You just walk out in front of the train and like call it. And I was like, that's what I'm gonna do. I had thought about it. I was like, screw it. I was like, I'm just gonna like tap out. I had a really good run up until here. I got to do everything I wanted to do as a little girl up until this moment. I think it's been like great, but like I'm miserable at this point and I don't know what else to do. And I'm just gonna call it. And I remember sitting down and like begging for help, like begging to whoever the other is. Aw, thank you, Sam. Thank you for not getting on the tracks. Sam has known me from my other life too. But yeah, I was like, fuck it. I'm just gonna like whatever. So I sat down and I begged and I was like, if you don't tell me, I'm gonna cry. I don't like crying on social media. I was like, if you don't tell me what to do, I was like, that's it. And I was like so serious. I was like, I'm so over life anymore. And the craziest shit happened. Like, I can't even make it up. because I had my eyes closed and I was given like full third eye psychic vision of a Syrian being, of like an alien. And I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, oh great, now I'm going like crazy, right? Except for like the feeling that had come into my body was just overwhelming with love. And I was like, whoa, what is going on? And it just was like, just take a breath, right? Like that was kind of the thing. And so that was so crazy. I ended up calling my friend Dawn, who I saw the UFO with, because she was the only other person that I knew that probably wouldn't think I was absolutely psychotic, and was like, dude, I was considering, you know, like offing myself, and then like an alien showed up kind of thing. And she was like, no way, really? And I was like, yeah. And it just so happened that like the next 3 days, things like that kept happening. I was driving somewhere. I had a friend that was like, oh, you can like deliver weed for me. And I was like, okay, cool. Like that's what I'm going to do in the in-between. And I was driving to a delivery, and all of a sudden it was like somebody was in the car with me talking to me and was like, hey, you need to take a QHHT training. And I was like, what? Where did that come from? And then I start arguing with it, like in my head, right? I'm like, I don't have any money. Those trainings are like $2,000. I'm going to make like $50 off this delivery right now. I don't know what I'm doing with my life, right? And it was like, sign up for the training. I ended up having a really good delivery day and made the down payment to take the training. And I signed up for the training the following week, but I still wasn't convinced of what was happening. I just kind of was like, I don't have any options left, so like I'm gonna just go with it. I don't know if you guys know Elizabeth April, but she does like group coaching calls, and there are usually a lot of people in her group coaching call. And I happened to just tune into one day out of curiosity, and she called my name, and for the live Zoom coaching call. And she was like, what's going on with you? And I was like, I don't know. I'm just got like a lot of change going on. So you tell me, right? I was like, whatever, just you tell me whatever, I'm open. And sure enough, she started being like, she starts describing this entity that like I saw and came to me. She's like, are you going to sign up for this training thing? And I said, yeah. And she's like, that's a great step for you. She was like, but in a year, that's not what you're going to be doing. And then your gifts, as she called them, were really going to come online. And I was like, what does she even mean by that? Right? I was like, I'm over here like life collapse. I'm struggling. What am I supposed to be doing? And I was like, okay, great, whatever. I still think about that reading because I had no idea really what was in store for me. So those were kind of the 3 things that like shifted me into this full on path. I took the QHHT training, started doing practice clients, got certified that way, and then also found a mentor to help me explore mediumship because I knew all that was happening for me. I just didn't know what I was supposed to be doing with it. And I spent about a year practicing, just doing QHHT. I was really afraid to publicly come out of the woo-woo closet because I had been a model and like a dancer, and I didn't really know how to get on social media and be super vulnerable and like talk to people, right? I'd kind of been off social media behind the scenes for so long that it felt really scary and weird and intimidating. Even though I'm sure, much like my friend Sam here, he's always like, you've always been a little spooky and a little weird, but it was really nerve-wracking for me to do that. And so yeah, I just was like really leading with the QHHT thing. Sam, sorry for the ignorance, but what technically is a medium? A medium is somebody that can speak with crossed over loved ones on the other side. Psychic, medium, you know, those kind of things. So yeah, it was really hard. And I didn't know what I was doing with it, right? So I led with like what I felt was more clinical, which was past life regressionist. But the psychic mediumship gift thing kept pushing forward, right? Like I would put people in regression and I would be able to like see what they were seeing before it happened for them. So it was like kind of validating, and it was like a huge energy exchange every time I was working with their higher self. And I remember sitting in the forum asking if that was normal, because I would be so drained after these sessions because I was experiencing these crazy energy exchanges. And everyone's like, oh yeah, yeah, you're probably just tired from working with clients. And I was like, no, something else is going on. Kimmy, how do you find a mentor? Oh, hi, Kim. You're having some similar struggles. So I took a mentorship with another medium that's kind of well known. I felt like it was okay. Maybe it was what I needed at the moment, but was it the greatest? No, but you get what you pay for. In regards to finding a mentor, I think if you just trust your gut and go with who you feel aligned with at that moment, right, then it's for you and you're going to get something out of it. I think there's many different type of mentors and teachers for you at various stages. If you guys follow me here and maybe Alyssa, I sat with Alyssa after practicing mediumship kind of in practice circles on Facebook by myself for a year. My friend, I have another LA friend that lives down here in San Diego now, and he was like, oh, do you know Alyssa? She's like you. She lived East Side, like, you know, she's a model and she's doing the thing too. And I clicked on her page and I was like, oh, she is doing the thing. And I saw she was doing like a workshop, and so I joined her workshop out of curiosity. And then she was like, hey, you've got all these things going on, like, you're good. I don't know why you're sitting in this workshop, right? Like, go do the thing. And I was like, no, I don't know. I was just still so second guessing it. And so she and I did a one-on-one. And after the one-on-one, she was like, go fly, like, like get out. And now she and I are super close friends, but she's a great mentor as well. Especially if you're looking to develop mediumship specifically. Kimmy, it's tough in the Midwest with the woo-woo. Yeah, I mean, I did all my mentorships with people online. It works the same. But it can be, you know, finding your group is going to be isolating. But yeah, so Alyssa's a great mentor if you're looking for mediumship. She really, like, kicked me out of the nest, and then we became kind of more colleagues and friends after that. And then, gosh, after that, I was like, okay, I gave myself like a due date on social media. And I was like, we're just going to rip the Band-Aid off, and you're just going to start telling people what it is that you do, because how else are you going to essentially get clients, right? I tried like a couple networking in-person events in San Diego, and they felt really weird. I'm just like, I'm not that person. So, and it was great. I mean, it took me a while, but you find your tribe on social media. It's been like really helpful. I've loved, it for that reason. Oh, you have different gifts, Kimmy. So, okay, so let's talk about different gifts. So I spent a year, right, doing QHHT and then mediumship and psychic. And I was like, okay, this is like what we're doing. However, as much as I love talking to your all's crossed over loved ones, it never interested me that much. I really loved dabbling in like the weird quantum alien ancient history place. But I didn't really know how that fit together. So fast forward, I see another practitioner who is teaching a channeling masterclass. Her name's Jenny Rebecca. She's also super amazing. And I was like, I'm just curious. It was like a 4-week class. I was like, I'm just curious. I'm going to just jump in and see. I only went to one class. And I was like, oh, whatever. It's like a meditation. That's fine. I didn't think I got anything out of it, right? Nothing profound happened during that class. But following that class, I started to implement a regimented meditation style practice that was opening up and expanding my field, and then just seeing what would happen, right? Just calling in for love and above, like whoever wanted to chat, right? It's like getting on TikTok, just opening up and being like, who wants to come in and hang out? And somebody did. And it was crazy. I was laying there and I just was like, okay, I'm just meditating, la la la. If somebody wants to come in, and I felt this energy come in from this side of my body, and it starts pulling my face, and all of a sudden my arms and hands and my mouth and my face is moving, and I like sat out of bed and was like, what the fuck is going on? That's not me. And it wasn't like, ooh, I felt like this was evil and scary. I just was like, that's not me moving my hands. That's not me moving my face. It's so funny. And I was like, what the fuck? I actually called, or I text the group chat, Brain Wiggle, Allison, and Alyssa. And I was like, I texted them or sent them like a crazy voice note and was like, this fucking crazy thing just happened to me. And boy, I don't know what's going on. And Alyssa was like, hey dude, I think you're a trance channeler. And I was like, this teacher, Jenny Rebecca, that I took this workshop with, told me that I was a trance channeler, but I thought she was trying to hustle me for a session. And so I was like, yeah, whatever. I'm like just trying to navigate psychic and mediumship skills. I don't know what you're talking about with the channeling. So of course, immediately after, I ended up booking a session with Jenny just to be like, hey, remember that thing you told me? I think it's happening. So that's the thing about mentors and teachers is, one, we learn so much from each other, but sometimes people come in at the right times when you're ready for them. Your first thought would be, am I having a stroke? I did consider that, but it was such a weird, because I got an energy, but I also was getting visuals. There's a gnat right here. So it was like super, super weird. And then, yeah, it just like evolved from there, right? I started off with having one guide, my angelic guide, Mara. And then it went to, I have like all these other galactic energies that I'm channeling, and I can connect with like the earth and the ocean. And I've got this like group consciousness, the living light, which, okay, let's talk about the living light. The living light. I'm going to be working more with them in the future because more of that has started to come in. When they first came in, the best information that I got was that it was a collective group consciousness, and it felt like it was like the threads of the universe, right? To me, of the way that we all connect. And then last week I got some different messages, and it was like, well, no, we're like an Arcturian Council collective. And I was like, okay. I'm like, so you're like aliens? And they're like, no. They're like moving through their own ascension process in their timeline, in their dimension, from physical beings to more crystalline light beings. And so they want to come in and work with us, work with you guys, because we're also evolving, right, as humans. So we're all kind of, our consciousness is expanding, our bodies are starting to like change. So since they have already navigated this type of shift and they're moving upward, they would like to come in and work with us to also help us navigate our shift and our ascension process, for lack of a better term. So over the last year, as my session work has shifted from just doing psychic readings and mediumship, I'm really moving forward now into channeling, like more forward facing. Relatable, no ego, great story. Yeah. Listen, I'm super real. I feel like you don't see enough of that. I try to be like super honest about my process and like when things evolved for me. And that happened in like the last couple weeks. This collective came in. I'm like shifting my business away from just doing psychic mediumship style readings to I can channel your all spirit guides and your spirit teams and your oversouls and higher dimensional selves so that you guys can receive messages and information that are most needed for you. So that's kind of how I'm choosing to work now. And then again, the Living Light has asked for a container for themselves. So I will probably be creating some type of membership where that can live for itself. But yeah, it's been a wild, I mean, like, listen, it's been a wild ride. I never in a million years thought I would be sitting on the internet talking to people about aliens and higher dimensional consciousness. It was just like, you know, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do when it's what you're here to do, I guess, you know? No getting out of it. Kimmy, you feel this will happen this year for everyone? Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, here's the thing. It's like more people are becoming aware that they have intuitive gifts and abilities. Baseline, you guys all have some type of intuitive gift and ability, and it's really dependent upon how deep down the rabbit hole do you want to go. Kimmy, when I did a reading for you, asked who a guide was, but I knew, but I needed confirmation. You know, we all like a little confirmation, right? And that's why it's nice to have community around you. It's nice to sit with like, you know, somebody else that's similar to you in session. It can be very validating, right? Because so much of the work that we're doing is internal that it's really hard to gauge. Like sometimes I'm like, this little gnat, I'm like, am I making this up in my head? So I'm like full support always in like seeking out community or sitting with a mentor. I wanted to answer some questions and then you guys can of course ask some questions too. Somebody asked, which energy has been the most effort to get used to or get along with or to integrate? I would say, which energy? You know, my guide, Ollie, he's like a bird-like energy similar to Thoth. He was pretty hard to integrate with. He was pretty pushy and aggressive. But I will say, now that I'm channeling the Living Light as like hi Katie, as like a council, their energy's pretty nuts. Not aggressive. It's just like there's like a lot going on, and oftentimes when I channel a new energy, I feel like I don't sleep well at night. The night after I got more of them in together, it felt really buzzy in my body. And then the days following, like since that, they told me they did like an upgrade on my system, but I've been very, very emotional. Kind of like stuff that's probably been pushed down for a very long time. has been coming up, and there's no reason for it, right? Like, I'm getting like super triggered by things and like just wanting to cry and have a meltdown for like no reason. I can't blame like the moon. I can't blame like PMS. It's like energetic purge releasing of my system. I know that's for my highest good, as it were, but that one's been wild. Here's some other questions. Do the same spirit guides follow you through all your lifetimes? So what's interesting is many of my spirit guides and many of your spirit guides are incarnations of you in other timelines, in other lifetimes, in other parallel universes. So I like to do it like this. It's like there's all of these versions of you on all kinds of planes of existence, or they're tied to you in some type of way, but it's all under this like bigger outer circle of souls and energy that you need to be connected to. Is it in every lifetime? I mean, potentially, right? Every human lifetime. I mean, so many of these energies that I channel, some of them are coming from, other galaxies, other star systems, or their ancestors, or their light beings and their angels. It's really interesting. So I guess anything is possible, right? Just depending on what you're here to learn. So I like to say that your spirit guides and these types of energies are here to support you based upon whatever soul plan you came up with, because we all create a kind of game plan before we enter into this physical form, and they're here to offer support of that. And then, have I learned any words from any of the light language that I can translate into English? So that's super interesting. Light language is one of those things that is mostly energetically felt. And I got really hung up on this in the beginning when the light language turned on for me, wanting a direct translation. And the advice that came forward for me was to not get hung up on it. But I do sometimes ask them, especially if I'm giving a reading and I'm channeling for you guys, I ask them to tell you what it is that is like the overall message behind the energetics of the light language. But there isn't necessarily like this tone means this word kind of thing. It's just so strange. So that's kind of it. And every entity, angelic, etc., everybody's light language that comes through me feels a little bit different or sounds a little bit different, right? Like when I am talking when the Arcturians are talking through me, sometimes their light language sounds a little clicky. It's really funny. It was like so funny to me the first time. And then my main guides that I like to work with that tend to be kind of ancient wisdom keeper hybrid beings, that stuff, and my angelic guide sounds more Aramaic. And then the Andromedans, like it's like a very soothing. Same thing with the Syrians. It feels very soothing, but light language is one of those things where it's more energetically felt. They have Southern and French accents in the light language. Listen, yeah, everyone's got their, their tone kind of thing. It's like super, super weird. It's super weird. And the light language thing, I have to be honest, I was like totally making fun of people that I would see do it. I was like, these people are crazy. And then it started happening to me. And I was like, oh. Okay then. Guess I'll eat my words, right? So that's one of those things. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, we're hitting like that hour mark. So it's probably going to want to pop me out of here. But if you have any questions, feel free to DM me. I want to just let you guys know that my offer structure, again, is changing and my prices are changing. So if you're looking to work with me one-on-one in any capacity, I would do so at my current intro rates. Those expire February 10th. After that, it's all going to kind of shift. So yeah, of course. Thank you guys. Thanks for joining me over here. You sent another in the bubble, Rumina? Sometimes it doesn't come through. Let's see. Hang on. Ooh, do I have a concept of time? What do I think forever would feel like? I have no concept of time and had no idea what forever would feel like, but I tried so often as a kid to envision what that felt like, and then I would just fall asleep. I don't think you were on here at the beginning of my live, but I did talk about that. I used to be like, what does forever feel like? Yeah. We can't wrap our brains around time. It's just like such a weird one for us, right? So you know. Yeah, all the time. I could never figure it out. I guess I'm not meant to in this human form, right? All right, I'm going to pop off here. Again, if you guys have any questions about anything that I do, please send me a DM. I will save this live. But yeah, I know it's going to kick me off here. Instagram only lets us do an hour, I think. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for listening. All right, I'll chat with y'all later.